Yeah, I'm going to take all the credit. I'm glad you set it up. I'm going to take all the credit for getting Justin down to North Carolina. Coach Randolph, who's the head coach of Jack Britt now, can thank me for that. But we had a great 3 years working at Jack Britt together, 2014 to 2016. As y'all all know, Justin is a man of great initiative. He set all this up. We really appreciate him doing this. It's really a neat way of connecting with guys all over the country and all over the world, really. I thought those guys from other countries were confused that this wasn't a football clinic. It was a soccer clinic because of football, but we'll proceed from there. But I do appreciate him having me on. A couple weeks ago, he asked if I would speak on something, and I'll be honest, I thought I was doing him a favor by speaking at a session, but it turns out that he probably had to get somebody off of this time slot that was way more qualified than me. With just judging by the speakers he's had, and it's really been neat to listen and watch and learn all that's been going on. So what we're going to talk about today, I'm going to go ahead and try to share the screen here. What we're going to talk about today is our in-season routine that we do. I'm at Camden High School in South Carolina. We feel like we do a really good job of I guess setting expectations and our in-season routine. We feel like – trying to share this. I think it's working.
You're good.
Our in-season routine, and I just kind of go through what we do for that. It's not glamorous talk. I'm a former O lineman. Nothing we do is very glamorous. Y'all can see that. All right. So the Bulldog in-season routine, again, is something I think we do a really good job of. Just from a day-to-day and a weekly basis of what we do in season. I love routines. I love to be in the routine. I love the routine of the season. Matter of fact, I'd rather be in the season all year long than getting into the off season and some of that other stuff because it changes. It's one thing I love about routines in the season. It's pretty straightforward. Every day is going to be about the same. A little history on me. I'm like I said, here at Camden High School in South Carolina from 2017 till now. Before that, I was at Jack Britt High School in North Carolina where Justin is from 2012 2016. Before that, O-line coach at Harnett Central, North Carolina. Played for the Ravens and played at East Carolina. The only reason I put those up there is just to know where I stole some of the ideas from, where I got some of the processes and ways to do things, where we got some of those from. We've taken a little bit from here and from there as we've gone on. And really, it's been an adjustment. Every year we've adjusted based on the kids, based on the team, based on the weather. There's always been adjustments. So just kind of give you the basics of what we've done. First, I think if you're going to set out if you're a head coach or coordinator, you're in charge of practice schedules or
Coach, real fast. The microphone was just breaking up a little bit, just a heads up.
All right. Hopefully it'll be good now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a little breaking up just a little bit, but
I'm going to assume you can hear me and proceed from here. How about that? First thing we want to do is look at the macro view versus the micro view. If you're looking at scheduling in-season routine, and it's on a computer. I'm not sure what to do actually. I don't have a external microphone.
That other computer wasn't still on, was it?
No, it's off.
Okay.
Yeah, it's off. I mean, if you can't hear it, I guess it ain't worth it, is it?
Well, no, we can hear you. It's just it's like staticky. I mean, you could definitely hear. You just roll.
Yeah, you're even static. You're even static coming back to me. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't have an external mic in here, but I'll just try from here. I'll let you at least see it.
Hey, you're good now.
Oh, all right. I'll see the slides. If I start cutting out, then we'll just try to move on from there. But I think if you're looking at scheduling something out, whether it's in season or out of season, you want to have a broad view, a macro view, then a micro view. I was a business major in college, so the macro, micro economics kind of stuck with me. But if you're looking for a macro view and a micro view, I think you got to answer a couple of questions. For the macro view, I think you got to answer, what do you want to accomplish, right? Generally, broad-based, what do you want to accomplish? From the micro view, how can we best accomplish this? Because that's how you're going to implement it. So if we look at the macro view, what do you want to accomplish? I think as football coaches, we all want to win football games. There's a lot of other stuff that goes into it. We will make our players better men. We will make them great citizens. And there's all those character and leadership talks. But in the end, we want to win football games. That's what gets us more credibility. That's really what our job is to win football games. So the macro view, that's what we want to accomplish. Now, for the micro view, how are you going to win football games, right? How are you going to best accomplish this? We want to be at our best on Friday night. That's the goal. Be at your best physically and mentally on Friday night. So when the lights turn on and the first ball is put in play, we want to be our best in order to win that football game. And one way we think, to do that is to establish routines. We think having a routine, especially for these teenage young men, having a routine has really helped them out. Also really helps your coaching staff out, helps your coaches out to know what to expect. So those are some of the things we talk about. When we talk about establishing routines, when we establish a routine, we think it provides really 4 things. One is efficiency. It helps you to be efficient. When we coach our players on the field, we don't want them having wasted steps, wasted motions. We don't want to waste plays at practice. We want to be efficiency. One of my things that I've always done and I've always tried to do is be efficient. A lot of people talk about grinding and the coaching. The schedule is a grind. We don't like to use those words as a grind. We want to be efficient. Grind kind of implies that it's getting redundant and you're just doing something to do something. We're not going to have meetings just to have meetings. We're not going to stay out on the practice field longer just to stay on the practice field longer. We want to be efficient. I've been Mr. Efficient during my life. In college, I was an O-lineman, like I said, and conditioning days were Tuesdays. We have 4 full gassers on Tuesdays. Well, that was the worst day of the week for an O-lineman. Nobody wanted to condition. So during the day, I actually caught myself counting how many steps I would take to go to this buffet line or that buffet line or to this set of stairs or that set of stairs, just so I could save steps for practice because I dreaded conditioning that much. Also, I got to the point where I was close to setting a school record on one of our lifts in the weight room. I spent a whole accounting class one day figuring out how to use metric weights to equal 1 pound more than what the record was so I could set the record in the most efficient way, just 1 pound more, not 5 or 10. So efficiency is something that we try to do, and I think our schedule and the way we have things is set up to accomplish that. Other thing is clear expectations. Establishing a routine provides clear expectations. That's for players and coaches. If your players know what the expectation is during the week, after the game on Friday through the next game on Friday, then they're more likely to do it. We don't have a lot of policies, rules. We don't have a lot of those things in our program. We got a lot of expectations, and we want our guys to meet those expectations. If they don't meet those expectations, the next bullet kind of comes into account with the discipline. But also your coaches, they've got families. They do other things besides just coach football. All of our guys teach classes. They've got other things going on. If they've got clear expectations and they know what is expected out of them on a weekly or daily basis, they're more likely to do their job better, more likely to be better assistant coaches, coordinators, whatever their position is on staff. So that's the one thing we like about clear expectations is for the players and the coaches. The discipline comes into account because if you know what to expect and you're being efficient doing it, you're going to get discipline. You're going to get discipline from your players. They're going to be where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be there. That's one of the things we talk about. Do what you're supposed to do. Be where you're supposed to be. They're going to be disciplined because they know the schedule. It's not changing every day. There's, sometimes schedules will have to change. There'll be other events that go on. For instance, now we're sitting at home for a month or longer, whereas normal we would be getting ready for spring practice or max outs in the weight room or whatever it is. But clear expectations, efficiency, those routines established, discipline on a field, in a game, you want discipline. You want your Mike backer, if he's got the backside A gap, to be in the backside A gap. You want your right tackle on outside stretch play to step with his right foot first. Like those are the things that you want to be disciplined on, and those are things that we think routines help establish. The last one is competitive advantage. I'm one of those guys that is a little selfish. I don't like to share a whole lot. I haven't shared a whole lot because I really believe in my mind that the things that we do that make us successful is a competitive advantage that other people aren't doing. So I'm going to share some of those competitive advantages today because I feel like this topic will help you to increase the participation in your program. I feel like football has got a big target on itself. People are trying to either discredit the game or not let their sons play the game. We've got to work together as coaches to get the participation to where it needs to be. The process that we've had and what we've done with our routines, our in-season schedule, has increased our roster size the past 2 years. We've been here 3, so every year it's increased. We're proud of that. And, I think that part of the competitive advantage, everybody in the country isn't on this chat. So if I provide anything that helps you in your school, that'll be good for y'all. But, I think the point that we make is that competitive advantages are key to our program. We don't have the best players at every position. We've got good players now. We've got some guys a lot of guys that are playing in college now and some that will play from these teams. But we're not the best at every position. So we need some competitive advantages, and we feel like the process and what we do helps to provide that. So the preparation, all you coaches, this is the same to everybody. When you prepare, you're covering all the scenarios. So one part of our preparation that I get all the coaches' input on is there'll be scenarios that happen during the season or that happened last season that we had never seen before. We try to cover at some point all the scenarios, whether it's in meetings, whether it's on the field. We try to cover scenarios. I saw when I was in North Carolina with G, we were playing this school, and 2 weeks before that, there was like 15 seconds on the clock. It was fourth down. The other team had a timeout. They all the things they had to run a 15-second play. Well, there's not too many 15-second plays. Well, what they did was they took their quarterback, who was an athlete. He ran around the backfield for 10, 11, 12. He's running, dodging everybody, and then heaves the ball as far as he can so it lands out of bounds. It was a 15-second play. That's a scenario I had never seen in all my years of football, of playing, of coaching. I had never seen it. Well, I guess 6 or 7 years ago it was now. That scenario came about. We've got to cover it. 2 years ago here in South Carolina, one of the best ones I've ever heard. Never heard of it. There's a team winning by 4 points. They had the ball at the end of the game. The other team had a timeout. They couldn't take a knee. This was going to be the last play. They snapped the ball. They've got it. The horn goes off. The scoreboard horn goes off. The team with the ball that's winning stops, puts the ball down, start walking on the field. The team that's losing doesn't stop. They pick the ball up, run for a touchdown. They win the game. The horn on the scoreboard doesn't stop a football game. So the next day, it was Saturday, we found out about that from Friday night. So Sunday, when we had our meeting, I asked the players, because we got guys that play basketball and baseball and wrestling. In basketball, when the horn goes off, when the beeper sounds, what does that mean? Well, that means the game's over. Everybody stops. That's correct. When the horn goes off, when the beeper goes off in wrestling, what does that mean? Well, that's the end of the match, the end of the period. In football, when the horn goes off, what does that mean? Well, they paused. They hesitated. So I knew they didn't really know. Well, guys, if the horn goes off, it's the last play. The whistle signifies the end of the play. So we had to go over that scenario. Now, that next day, I made sure to tell our clock keeper when we're at home, do not put that horn on the scoreboard. That's not going to hurt us. If we're away, we've already gone over scenario, but we don't have to worry about that at home. So we didn't have any more horns going off on the end of the quarter or half or game. But we don't cover all scenarios. That's just part of the preparation. Making no adjustments, that's the football part. Making no adjustments based on formations of the offense, defensive alignment, blitzes. That's what you get in the meat of your meetings and practices, but we want to make sure we're prepared, because on Friday, we're not the ones playing, right? We're coaches. We hopefully have prepared our players to play their best game, to play as fast as they can play during the game, because they're making and they know adjustments as they go. Our safety, our secondaries, our defense coordinator does a great job with our safeties. They've got a lot of adjustments they make during the game. Well, if they know it and the rest of the defense doesn't know the adjustment they're making, it's not going to do us any good. So making no adjustments is also part of the preparation. And one thing that I remember as a player, especially at East Carolina in college, practices were tough. They were tough. The conditioning I talked about on Tuesdays was tough. The conditioning on Wednesdays, it was tough. Practices were tough. I always thought that when I got to the game and the game was easier than practice, then that made practice worth it to me. There was one game we played 108 plays in a game. We were really good on offense that game, ended up playing a bunch of plays. And I wasn't really that tired because we had worked so hard in practice, and it was so tough in practice that the games weren't that difficult. So that's something we try to do, is make practice a little more difficult than the game. Now, some of that is if we're playing teams that maybe aren't as good as our guys. When our ones are going against our ones, they're actually playing against people that are better than what they're going to face in the game. But I think that's part of it. If you can make practice easier than the game, then the guys will realize why you put all that work in during the week. So after you talk about preparation, you look at your weekly schedule, right? How do you want to format the week? We want to prepare for Friday nights, man. That's game night. That's the night you get paid. And I'm not trying to name drop, but when I played in Baltimore, Ray Lewis was there, and he used to say, I get paid from Monday through Saturday. That's what the paycheck's for. On Sunday, that's free. That's the fun part. Well, in high school, it's Friday nights. Friday nights is the fun part. You don't have to get anybody ready to play on Friday night. If you do, then probably not a guy's going to help you. That ain't the night you got to get people ready. So Friday nights, we got to prepare for that. Work within time parameters. We kind of set up our own time parameters on how long we want to be at practice, how long we want the kids here for the day, because once during the season starts, talk about from the first bell of school to the last whistle of practice when they're going home, it's a long day for these kids. They're teenagers. There's a lot of other things that they could be doing. That's why I think, if you get more participation, it helps to bring other people along, and you really got to recruit your hallways. I'll talk about that later, but work within time parameters. Part of that is for coaches too. We all got families, right? We all got other, responsibilities. Our coaches are teachers. They got to plan for class and all those kinds of things, but we want to work within those time parameters to make sure we're as efficient as possible. The format of practice, so what we do at practice, the days that we do certain drills, the days we have certain periods, that all goes into the weekly schedule, the intensity of practice. And when we talk about intensity, we're kind of just talking about, I'm talking about the physicalness, how much contact there is during practice. We've got 3 levels of intensity in practice. One is basically no contact. It's kind of a walkthrough period, more of a teaching period. The next one is thud, which Coach Swift, who was just on here before lunch, talked about thud. Thud for us is contact. We're hitting, but nobody's going on the ground. That was something we practiced in college, most of college. A few days were live, but we mostly practiced thud. In the pros, you practice thud for a little bit, and then it's all no contact, basically, once you get to a certain point in the season. The last one is live. The other intensity of practice is live. It's full speed to the ground, tackling. It's not over till the whistle blows. It's live. Now, our quarterback is never live. I've got a quick whistle on the quarterback. He hates it. We've got a guy that's very competitive. He wants to win every drill. He wants to run over linebackers and show he's tougher than them. I love it, but he's not getting hit in practice. He is not live. Everybody else is live. Our running back led the state of South Carolina rushing last year. He set a school record, 2,390 yards. Up until the last week of the season, we made it to the 4th round of the playoffs, playing our 14th game. He's still getting tackled in practice. Now, it's not a ton, but he's still getting tackled in practice. I felt like if he's the best running back in the state, our linebackers need to practice tackling him, right? And we need to help our teammates out by giving them the best look they can. Now, the last one, that quote, work from rest, not rest from work. My preacher said that a few years ago. I remember hearing that in church and thinking that's an accurate statement. That's a good way to put it. We should be working. We should be practicing. We should be game planning from our rest. We shouldn't have to rest from our work. We shouldn't be such a grinder, right? That the word people use, such a grinder that we're so exhausted from the week. We're so exhausted from that day of practice that we've got to go home and rest. Now, we're going to be tired, guys. The season is long and it's a lot of work. But I think if you keep it in a mindset of we want to work from our rest, we want to be rested so that we can work. And that's one reason we kind of schedule things the way they do. You guys are probably thinking we practice for an hour each day. I'm going to show you that's not the case. But here's our weekly schedule. On Friday, I'm going to start Friday and then work all the way to next Friday. Peak performance, playing a game, see how we do. Saturday's our rest day. I'll go into that more, but Saturday's our rest day. Sunday, we rest at the beginning of the day, then we do a little review and preview. Monday and Tuesday, that's our work days. Those are our tough physical practice days. Wednesday's a big team day, team and special teams. We're polishing up, and we're done. Trying to get everything done on Wednesday we need to do for the whole week. Thursday's a full-speed mental day, and the next Friday you're working into the peak performance day. It's kind of an outline of what the weekly schedule looks like. On a daily schedule, as you're scheduling, daily during the season, what's the in-season routine look like? Meetings and practice plans. Obviously, you're going to meet during the week. You've got to have practice during the week. So those plans have to form to what the weekly plan is and what your overall, macro view from outer space, what it is for your program. We want efficient practices. Our practices are detailed down to the minute, like I'm sure all y'all's are. We've got practice plans that we look at. The desired tempo, what tempo do we want certain drills? So that goes into how much contact there is, which I pretty much dictate, and then how fast is practice going, which I dictate. I'm fortunate enough to have a staff with every position group covered. I don't have a position, so I get to dictate the tempo of practice, and I'm right there in the thick of it. We have engaged student athletes. That's one of the goals, to engage the student athletes. As teachers, most of you guys are teachers, as you're going over your lesson plans for the day, you want the engaged students, right? They're the ones that make class more fun. They're the ones that learn more, that do better on tests. We want to engage student athletes on the field. They're athletes, in the classroom, they're students, because on the field, if they're engaged, they know what's going on. That means you're going to be better on Thursday nights or Friday nights or whenever you play. Also, we think it's got to be a fun atmosphere. We think this is one of the reasons we've been able to increase our participation over the last couple of years. We try to make it as fun as possible. We do little things here and there to make it fun, but they know they're going to work, but they know it's going to be a fun atmosphere, and we challenge them a lot in that respect also. I kind of talked about our coaching staff. Some of this stuff that we do is going to be based off what we have, and I've got a slide on here about resources. We've got our offensive coordinator is also our quarterback coach. We've got an O-line coach, running back coach, wide receiver. We've got every position group covered. Our DC is also our cornerback coach. We've got 2 D-line coaches. We have a coach for every position. There's not a position that we have on the field that's not coached by somebody. Now, y'all don't see tight ends up there. We hadn't really had a tight end the last few years. We're not opposed to it. Tight end will kind of split. We'll send him to the O-line for the plays that he needs to learn the blocking schemes, and then he'll go with receivers when we're going to put them on routes and practice that sort of thing. But we've got a coach for every position. This year we're going to have 2 extra coaches. So we're going to have 2 O-line coaches. Now, all this is divided out into our teams. We've got 3 teams: varsity, JV, freshman team. So our coaches coach them all. We don't designate, we don't segment. There's not 2 guys that go with JV, 2 guys that go with freshman. Our coaches coach everybody. I think that has really helped our program also, something I believe in. All right, if we talk about on Saturday, let's go through the week kind of day by day, and I'll get into more practice and how we sort things out. Saturday's off. We don't have anything scheduled on Saturday. The coaches' requirements on Saturday are to grade the previous game film for the position group. Everybody's got a position group. They grade that film, everybody that played. Everybody gets a grade. Now, some of you guys may not grade the players. We feel like it's part of competition, right? We want everything to be competitive. They're going to get a grade, an 80, a 79, a 60. They're going to get a grade when the game's over. Now, I try to tell the coaches not to demoralize anybody. Don't give them a 23, especially if he's going to start for us the next week. And don't grade the better players harder than you grade everybody else. Well, another reason they get grades is we give out stickers, give out bones. We're the Bulldogs. So we give out bones on the helmets. If they get above a certain grade for that position group, they get a sticker. They love stickers. They love all the drip stuff that they can get to put on uniforms. Some of our guys took their bones and made all kinds of designs on their helmets. Bothered me a little bit, but didn't bother me enough to make me want to make them change it, look uniform. Also, they're compiling stats. So, a running back coach or really offensive coordinator compiles all the offensive stats. Our defense splits it up. Every position group gets the stats for their defense position. We put them on max preps like everybody else does. Our defensive coaches have a Google sheet that they input the stats on the Google sheet so that, I don't know everybody's stats by heart, but when the newspaper, radio asks me for stats, I pull up the Google sheet and I got it right there in front of me. Same thing with the offense, offense coordinator will get all the stats for the offense throughout the game or after the game, after you watch this film, and we'll put that into max preps. The other part the coaches have to do on Saturday is to scout the next opponent, right? Scout the next opponent, start watching the next film. Now, not opposed to doing anything on Saturday. Matter of fact, when I was at Jack Britt with Justin, as y'all can see by him setting all this online stuff up, he's got a lot of initiative. He said, Coach, can I bring some guys in to lift on Saturday? That was fine with me. He could bring in whoever he wanted to lift. They could get extra work. I just didn't want to make it mandatory. We got guys who work. We got guys who are the caretakers. We got guys who are going to watch their little brothers play rec football on Saturday mornings. That's what I'm doing. I got little kids playing football, trying to go watch them play on Saturday mornings, trying to get out in the community, let people see, especially after a win. It's nice to get a couple pats on the back when you get in the community. So that's kind of why I've left Saturday off, but I'm not opposed to people doing it. Like I said, Justin did it in North Carolina. I'm just not going to make anything mandatory that I'm not going to do. Player requirements. They don't have any requirements on Saturday. Now, you guys know as well as me, Huddle is a great invention. Those guys did a really good job of putting that out for us. Our kids have already watched the game film by the time Saturday morning rolls around. They made highlight tapes from the game the night before. They've tweeted out stuff that they've done. They're invested. They're into it. Huddle has made that happen, and it's fantastic. They don't have any football requirements. Now, our coaches will ask them to do things. Watch the film. Tell me what you think about yourself on this play. Tell me what you think about the opponent once you start watching stuff. So they'll have them do that. There's just nothing official. We get together, have a requirement with them. What we do is encourage them to go visit colleges, to 10 games. We want them around football as much as possible. I'll take guys on recruiting visits. Again, we've got guys who are getting recruited, which is a great thing. Coaches will take kids on recruiting visits. I like to go to games. I like to see just just football. I like to watch games. So I'll go to places I haven't been. I try to map it out for the season, go on Saturdays to somewhere I haven't been before to see what that experience is like and get ideas from what they do just as far as an atmosphere standpoint. But those are the things we encourage our players to do on Saturday. But, again, nothing official. On Sunday, we do meet. So we get together on Sunday. Now, North Carolina, Sunday's off limits. Can't do anything on Sunday. Well, I'm in South Carolina. They don't have those limits. So we get together and meet. Coaches get together at 2 o'clock. Have our staff meeting. The entire staff gets together. We talk about the previous game as a whole staff. Every position coach talks about their guys, what their grades were, and what the stats are. One thing I think that's neat from doing that is, once you get to the season, everything gets compartmentalized. Offense worries about offense. Defense worries about the defense, especially if you're a two-platoon team like us. Guys don't really go both ways. Coaches don't coach other positions. We get so much done by having our coaches coach specific positions, specific players. You just get so much more in. So it's neat on Sunday to hear the O-line coach talk about his for the DB coach who has never crossed paths with the O-line. It's neat for them to hear what the other one is saying. Same thing with linebackers and quarterback. It's neat for everybody to hear how the other one looked because then during the game we don't see the other position a lot. Now as a head coach, I watch the entire game on the sidelines, but our defense, when they get off the field, go to our tent. They're watching film. They're watching TV. They don't see what the offense does, and vice versa. When the offense gets off the field, coaches want them right at the tent. They go to the tent. They're there. They don't get to see what happens on defense until they hear the crowd get excited and we start hollering to go out there. So it's neat for our coaches to get to hear what the other side is like. We also go over special teams then. So when we have all the coaches together, we split special teams up amongst the coaches and go over that then. Also give an injury and personnel update. So anything that had happened from Friday night, maybe on the injury front or even a personnel front, that's where we talk about moving guys to different positions or bringing a guy up from JV if an injury has caused us to be thin in a position. We're going to talk about moving a kid up and that sort of thing. We talk about that as a staff. Talk about the next week's schedule. Now, this whole thing is about in-season routines, and we want to be great in-season routines, but there are some things that come up that get you off your routine. Labor Day is one. Everybody plays that next week after Labor Day. Now, we're going to practice on Labor Day. We're just going to try to keep a similar routine, but it's just going to be different. Not going to have a Sunday meeting on Labor Day weekend with the kids or with the coaches. We're going to do that on Monday on Labor Day. So sometimes there are different things if we have a faculty meeting or there's something going on. We're out of school one of those days. It's Tuesday, it's election day, and we're out of school. What are we going to do? So those are things we talk about where there's any modifications to the schedule. Then our offense and defense split up. They get to their unit meetings. The coordinators take them. They go to meetings, and they work on game planning and reviewing last week and those sorts of things. Player requirement for Sunday is minimal. 5 o'clock, we got a team meeting. It's just the varsity. It's a varsity team meeting at 5 o'clock. I start that off. We have everybody's in there, and it's a 20, 25-minute meeting. Always in that meeting, we talk about the last game in pretty good detail for most of those 20, 25 minutes, tell how people fared, the performances they had, because some of the kids may not know how the other side of the ball did. I also show video. I always show video on Sunday, have a little highlight that I've made from the game. All of it's not necessarily highlights. It's coaching highlights because it's the guys that, as coaches, the guys you want to commend because they're being selfless team players. This year, I probably put more wide receivers blocking on our Sunday highlight film from the Friday night than I ever have before. Our guys, receivers did a tremendous job of blocking this year. It's one reason we ran for so many yards. Led the state in rushing as a team and individual with our running back. Our receivers had a big part of that. So I made sure to show those selfless plays. Guys on defense that are hustling 30 yards down the field, a D lineman or linebacker, hustling 30 yards down the field to get in on a play, to make a play, they're going to get shown in that meeting. I think the kids like that. They want to see what's going to be shown, what did coach see, because they've already watched the film. So they know what we've seen. They want to see if we saw and think the same thing that they did. So it's good to get those guys together. Now, in the past, if we were struggling or something, we've done like a no contact kind of tackling circuit before on Sunday. Not outside, everything's inside control. They don't get much of a sweat going, but just depends on where we're at. But 5 o'clock, we're going to have some kind of meeting, do something, and then 6:30 we want to be done. After our team meeting that lasts up to 30 minutes, they're going to split off into their position and unit meetings where our coaches will take them, and then they'll go individually through the film, show them what they did. Now, one reason we do this on Sunday in North Carolina, we did this on Monday. We did it before school on Monday. 7 a.m. was our Monday morning meeting. That was from Friday. We do it on Sunday here because I think it fits better for what we have. We got a lot of kids that ride the bus to school. They can't get there at 7 o'clock. If we were to start meetings before school, there's really not a period during the day where we can all get together and meet about it. But one thing I want to do is put the last week behind us and start focusing on this week. So I feel like the Sunday meeting with the team puts last week behind us. Those guys, we've commended them, we've complimented them, we've corrected them, whatever we've done, whatever we did last Friday, that's over with. Now we can work on what's in the upcoming week. Because by the time we get to practice on Monday, I don't want to talk anything else about what happened last Friday. So I think how you schedule practice, your daily routine, all that stuff kind of depends on two factors. What are your needs and what are your resources? So our needs, we had 3 teams. This is the first year in the 3 years we've been here, we'll be able to have 3 teams, varsity, JV, and freshman. Our participation was good enough, and our numbers were good enough. Those. I'm a firm believer that you got to play football to get better at football. Nothing against the guys that do it, because there's people around me right now that are really successful that do it. But if you are on varsity, you're going to play. We don't have sophomores on varsity that are just going to sit and hope to play. Those guys are in the rotation somehow. They're definitely on special teams. They're going to play. So in that respect, we're able to have all of our varsity guys get playing time. And then talking about JV and freshman teams, those guys play a bunch of football. It's great for them. For instance, this year, our backup quarterback was a sophomore. That was really our backup quarterback. He wasn't on varsity. He was our JV quarterback. But that was our backup quarterback. If something happened to our varsity quarterback throughout the year, that was going to be the guy in. But he wasn't dressing on Friday nights. He was playing on Thursday nights and getting all the reps to make him better, in our mind, to make him better. So we had to get out of game plan in case something happened to our varsity quarterback and he couldn't finish the game because our backup wasn't there. I didn't want our backup. We played 14 games this year to sit behind the varsity guy for all those 10 regular season games, not get any reps unless we're up by a lot or down by a lot. And those aren't really good reps. You guys know that. Don't want to get a lot. I want him to get start of the game reps where, hopefully that'll help us out in the future when he's ready to play. So we had 3 teams. Those are the needs. These are our resources. This is what we have to work with. I know we're more fortunate than a lot of people. I'm at a school that's half the size in South Carolina that the school I came from in North Carolina, and we got more coaches down here than we had up there. It's just the way it is. That's one thing I appreciate about South Carolina is how much they love football. We've got 10 paid coaches. We'll have 3 volunteer coaches this year, and I put athletic trainer on there because our guy is a tremendous asset for us. He played football. He's our athletic trainer. He's out there for, obviously, medical purposes, but he's a former football guy. He played receiver in college, played on the college level. He gets it. I'm also the AD, the athletic director here at Camden, and I love having a football guy as athletic trainer because he doesn't just think everybody's injured enough that they got to stay out. Everybody's not injured. Sometimes they're hurt, and he'll help them get back on, but they're not injured. And sometimes kids just don't know what the symptoms lead to or what how they feel. He's been an asset for us, and he gets in on some of our helping our receiver coach. We'll have split up in the varsity receivers and JV receivers, and he'll help take one of those groups. So he's an asset also. Facility-wise, what do we have to organize practice with? We've really got 1.5 fields. We've got a full 100-yard field. And then below that, we've got kind of a half a field. It's about 60 yards long. It's not as wide as a normal football field. It's like 40 yards wide where, normal football fields in the 50, 53-yard range. So we've got area. We've got grass to work with. If we do any team stuff, it's got to be up on the top field. That's the full 100-yard field because of the width and all that sort of stuff. But we're fortunate. We also have an O-line and D-line area. We've got this valley, we call it, between the 2 fields that's probably 30 yards long and 20 yards wide. It's a good area. O-line and D-line can go tear that area up all they want. That's where their shoots are. That's where they do their drills. They're off of the fields where our DBs and receivers can run long routes and do whatever they want to do up there because our O-line and D-line are off. So we were fortunate enough to have space in order to spread our teams out. The weight room, we've got a great size weight room. It's 3,000 square feet. We can fit up to 60 players, and 60 is pushing it. We've got 10 racks in there. We figured out a way to get 6 kids at a rack. 40, we're really comfortable having 40 players in there. So that's important on the days that we lift after school. For the guys who don't have weightlifting, it's important to know what we can fit in there, how we can get everybody in or lift and not take too much time lifting or having 2 groups. So our weight room, the size of it helps us to do that. Now, the extra stuff that we talk about in practice, I already kind of mentioned the tempo, no contact, thud, and live are kind of the 3 levels of tempo that we have. Tempo also goes into account. We're a no-huddle offense. We like to go fast. Tempo also comes into account. It's on me because I'm the ball spotter, or when my 11-year-old is out there who's a ball boy, he's the ball spotter. Tempo's on us too. How quick are we going to get through the plays in practice? How quick are we going to move from one to the other? So tempo incorporates the physical level, the level of contact, and also the pace of play. Engaged student athletes, we talked about this earlier. We want them locked into practice, want them being attentive. We think that the way we've kind of transitioned into how we run practice keeps them locked in the entire 2 hours that we're out there, keeps them attentive the entire time, which is hard to do. But we feel like kind of the way we've done it, and I'm going to go over the practice plans here in a second, has really helped our guys to do that. When they're attentive, when they're locked into practice, they know more. They get better. They see our JV guys and ninth grade guys are standing on the sideline watching the varsity guys, see what it's like to play on the varsity level. They see what it looks like, how fast it is, that kind of stuff. So we want them engaged. And then the fun atmosphere, I'm sure like a lot of you guys, you play music during practice. We try to have it as loud as we can. End up buying another speaker toward the end of the season last year. So we had 2 big speakers blaring music out. For one, it breaks up the monotony. It's not quiet out there. You're not just hearing coaches talking. It gives them something to listen to. Now, look, our guys will dance during practice. They'll dance before the play. They'll dance after a play. I don't care if they dance. I'm not going to be dancing, but I don't care what they do as long as they're locked in. These guys are ADD. All these kids got ADD. We don't want the kid that is cool, calm, and collected and so, lackadaisical out there. We want the football players going to get after it. Well, they're ADD. I'm ADD. The music helps them to listen to one thing and do another because that's the way their life is. They're on their phone all the time and things are flashing before their eyes. We think music helps make that atmosphere, the emotion part of it. As coaches, we got a pretty emotional coaching staff. We're loud. We get around. We run around to practice. We jog between drills just like we want the kids to jog between drills. We get practice very emotional. We also make it really challenging. Now, that's challenging physically. We hit a pretty good bit. We are pretty physical in practice, but it's a lot challenging mentally and emotionally. We put them in bad situations. I'll talk about that in some of the practice, but we challenge them. During our stretch period when I get to go talk to all the players and it's kind of a downtime where it's not as strict as the rest of practice, I get to challenge them. Did you guys see that the guy we're playing this week was player of the week last week? Did y'all see what they were talking about, saying, about y'all? How did our guy who ran for 200 yards not get player of the week and this guy did? I started challenging, kind of poking them a little bit to get them fired up for practice. Hey, we got board drills today. D-line, O-line. Hey, between you two, D-line, hey, the O-line says they're going to win. We kind of challenge them that way. So not only physically, but, kind of challenge them mentally also. On Monday, this is our schedule. All right, this is the basic of it. The practice plan is on the next slide. But on Monday, the last bell for us is 3:15. That's when we get out of school. I give the guys 30 minutes to get over to our wellness center. It's called. We're really fortunate. This is a separate building from the school. It's kind of like a field house, but it's not at our field. It's right in front of our practice fields. We've got a weight room over here in my office, our coaches' offices, our locker rooms, an auxiliary gym. We're really blessed to have a great facility, but our guys have 30 minutes to get over here from the end of school. So it's not attached to the school building. It's not very far, but they do have to walk a little bit. Our varsity guys that drive will go get their cars and pull them around to the side of the building, so they can get in their car after practice and they don't have to go all the way back to the parking lot. But at 3:45, our varsity is going to lift. Now, the varsity that lifts are the guys who aren't in weightlifting during the year. The fall, we don't get everybody in weightlifting, so we make up for it now after school with meetings and lifting. This last year, out of our 44 kids we had on the varsity team, 11 didn't have weightlifting. So 11 guys I had to get in there in the weight room. So I ran the weight room. 11 guys came in at 3:45. We got our lift in. The JV was at meetings at the time, so we kind of steal some time with our young guys. JV and ninth grade, they meet together. They're running the same plays. They may run different plays when it comes to the game based on personnel, but they're getting to meet, and they're all the coaches are available for the JV meetings since I'm running the varsity lift. So they're hearing from the varsity coaches because our coaches are varsity, JV, and ninth grade coaches. They coach everything. So our JV's in meetings. from 3:45 to about 4:15. We get done with the lift at 4:15. Our varsity will go have their meetings where our coordinators mainly and a couple position coaches on each side of the ball will go over what the practice is for that day, what we need to, what we know more about our opponent from having another day to study them, and what the expectations are for that day of practice. JV goes outside when varsity goes to their walkthrough. JV goes outside and starts their walkthrough. They start kind of walking through plays. Some guys are kinesthetic learners. Some guys are visual learners. If they can walk and figure it out, then we're going to make them kinesthetic learners and try to get them walk through. 5 o'clock, our practice starts. Here's basically our practice plan. Like you see on there, I just mentioned 3:15 we get out of school. 3:45 is the first time we've got something. That's the varsity lift or JV walkthrough. Now, one competitive advantage I really feel like that we have found over the last 2 years is our guys from 3:15 to 3:45 also get a snack. I don't really know the details of it, guys, and I'll be lying if I told you I wanted to know the details, because I don't. All I did was I went and asked our cafeteria manager one day if there was any way we could get snacks to the team after school, because they ate at noon. We're going to start practicing, and then they're going to, not go home till 7 o'clock. How can we get some snack? What can we get? I didn't want to have to buy it. It's pretty expensive to get snack every day. Somehow, through our cafeteria manager, she worked out a way. I don't know if it's a federal program, a state program, a county program. Our guys get a snack after school. We towed it over here from the cafeteria. It's laid out. The first one's over, get the first choice of snack. So in addition to getting those guys over on time, there's an incentive. They get the first to choose a snack. Now, some of those guys, it's more an incentive than others, but they get them over here. So they have a snack. We go start our stuff I just talked about, the lifting, the walkthroughs, the meetings. 5 o'clock, we start practice. As y'all can see, the layout of it, everybody's got an individual period for those first 15 minutes at 5 o'clock. We don't have like you've got to be out here at 5 o'clock. There's not a policy or rule. If you're late to practice, something's going to happen. Really, I put it on the position coaches. They're responsible for their group. They're the head coach of their position. If their guys are late to practice, we need to find out why. I'm the last one out to practice. I lock up the locker rooms. I make sure everybody's out of the locker rooms and we got everything locked up before we go outside so that nothing else happens while we're at practice. So our position coaches are in charge of that. Now, if they want to send them to me after practice because they were late, then they're going to send them to me after practice. We'll give them a reminder of why they should be on time to practice. But oftentimes the position coaches know more than me why somebody's late. They were getting taped, they were getting treatment, and something the athletic trainer wasn't on time. He had something else to do. Whatever the reason is, more likely they know it about their position group than I do. So I don't want to yell at kids and punish kids for something that either wasn't avoidable or that at least the coach knew about. After that, we go to stretch. Yeah.
Got a question here for you. What are the other varsity guys doing while the other ones are lifting?
They are unsupervised. They're moving their cars. It's free time. We encouraged them this past year to go sit in on the meetings with the JV guys, but really that's where a lot of them were getting treatment. Our starter guys, our guys that played a ton of the game, all had weightlifting during the day, so they didn't have to stay for the weightlifting. So they were in the training room getting treatment. They were moving their car. They just had extra time to get things ready before they meet. Now, they did know that they needed to be in the meeting on time. If they weren't in the meeting on time, their position coaches or coordinators would take care of that. But those varsity guys, really, it was a 30-minute block where they could get, well, we'd love for them to get homework done. They weren't doing that. But they were really free. We had no requirements for them during that 30 minutes. Hopefully that answered the question. All right, so after individual, we got 15 minutes of individual. We stretch afterwards. Now, stretch is a ceremonial stretch. We don't get much stretching done. At this point, it's 5:15 in the afternoon or early evening. Our guys have been at school since 8 o'clock. Many of them had weightlifting during the season or during the school day. If they're not ready to play, to practice now, they're not going to get ready to practice. This stretch is purely for me, I think, as a coach. I want this stretch. We do dynamic for 5 minutes. Part of it is our coaches are get on the kids about attention to detail. I want everybody strapped up, have their helmets on, toes behind the line, go 10 yards, finish through the next 10 yards. It's kind of a mental exercise period. It's also a time our offensive coaches, if they got to pull a kid aside or walk with them during the stretch lines to talk to them about something for practice, they do that. For me, I get to go mingle, I call it. I get to go talk to all the kids that I don't get to talk to during practice. We had 102 kids in the program this year, 102 practice at the same time. I didn't talk to everybody during practice. So those times during that stretch time is when I went and talked to the kids that we didn't get to talk to, or congratulated kids who teacher emailed me and said they got an A on their math test. I congratulated him in front of everybody else while we're stretching. It's not a very strict time, even though we want them to have toes behind the line and finish through the line. It's not that strict. It's kind of maybe more of a lackadaisical period, I guess, if you could say. But we're really using that period. We're getting ready for the next one because we're going from that. We're going 100 miles an hour to the next period, which we'll talk about here. So stretch is purely ceremonial. We get a little bit of stretching done. If the guys don't do it, I don't want them looking lazy and lethargic doing the stretch. But if they don't do it perfect and it doesn't look like 100%, and we're not going to get on. We're going to pick another battle. We're not going to pick that battle during that stretch period. So we get done with stretch, and as you can see on the screen, it says water break. Guys, if you've got practice schedules, Coach Swift actually talked about the talk before this about having being part of litigation and liability. You know, we're on the hook. We're the most prominent user people in the school and certainly in the community with football coaches. So we have a lot more eyes on us. Make sure you've got water breaks built into your schedule. Now, how you use that water break is up to you. I make sure it's written down there to use water breaks. Our guys get water the entire practice. We have a student trainer that is with every single group at every single drill. They get done with the drill, they can go get some water. There's never an excuse for not getting water. It's just that you didn't want it in our program. But the water break's on there. As an athletic director, I make sure all our coaches, they got to have a water break built in their practice schedule. If something comes back and gets a litigation, something unfortunately happens to a student athlete, they're going to look at their practice schedule, see what it was. Boom, there it is. We got water break. Our kids get water. We're not going to deprive them of that. We go from stretch, we go right to a period we call sudden change. Kind of one of my favorite periods, something that we've done for a number of years now. It's full speed, 100% in a bad situation. This is a sudden change. In the course of a game, and certainly over the course of a season, you're going to be in a position of sudden change. A long return on special team, a fumble on the offense. Defense is put in a backed up position. The defense scoops up a fumble and gets down inside the 10-yard line or scores. There's a sudden change that happened in the game. Well, our guys go from stretching, from not doing anything and not being really around each other, to sudden change. Now we got to go. It's ones versus ones. We'll be backed up one day where the offense will have to start inside their minus 5-yard line. The next day we'll be on the plus 40 or plus 20 going into the red zone where the defense is backed up. We put them in bad situations to challenge them, and this is a full speed live period. We're going from stretching, moving around, to full speed live. I want to see how quickly they can transition, because you guys know pregame on a Friday, you're out there pregame. It lasts an hour, however long it lasts. You're in the locker room. You run through the tunnel, and you come on the sidelines. You got to get going right away. That's kind of what we assimilate it to. That's what we make it similar to be, and this is also a competition. If we're backed up on offense, our goal is to get 2 first downs. So if we're in the -5, we're inside, our own 10-yard line. Our goal is to get 2 first downs in this period, going live, going full speed on the defense, and we win the period because now we got some field position and we can work with that. Defense can't allow them to get 2 first downs. 1 first down, they get out to the 20. Okay, we don't want them to get another one and getting out to the 30 or 40-yard line. So it's a competitive period. The guys get really competitive during that period. Coaches get competitive. I've got a whistle. I kind of control what happens. Sometimes I'll make up penalties and kind of go over different scenarios with that. In addition to this, we'll kind of do a backed-up punt once we've got that installed. We're punting from the 2-yard line. We got to work on that. That'll be part of the sudden change period. But our varsity will go ones-on-ones. Then our JV will go ones-on-ones. Then our freshmen will go ones-on-ones. This never lasts more than 5 plays, maybe 6 plays. I say I want the offense to get 2 first downs if they're backed up, or the defense to stop them. If our offense gets a 50-yard play on the first play or second play, it's over. They won that drill. We're on to the JV guys or the freshman team or whoever it is. So that's a full speed live. Everybody's getting tackled but the quarterback. I got a whistle on him, and he fights me about that because he says he gets out of every sack. But I want him competitive, so I like it. That's sudden change period. I think that's helped us start fast. We're a fast starting team. We score a lot of points in the first quarter. I don't have the number in front of me, but we get up on people pretty quickly. And I think that just doing that in practice day after day has helped us to do that. The next thing we do is the whole team. So we go from kind of a segmented drill with the whole team to another whole team drill. On Mondays Mondays, every Monday is our tackling circuit day. Everybody on the team does a tackling circuit. Our defensive coaches are responsible for setting the tackling circuit up. They usually have 3 stations. The D-line coaches will run one of them. And then when the D-line coach is running that one, the O-line coach is with them. The linebacker coaches are running one of them, and the running back coach is with him. And then all the secondary guys, receiver guys are running one of them. It's for all of our guys to know and learn how to tackle. If you're playing football, you should know how to tackle. I'm proud of the fact that I had 2 career tackles in the NFL. Both of them were on interceptions, so obviously they were in bad situations. But I knew how to tackle, right? People taught me how to tackle. We get to the point now we're 2 platoon. We got linemen that will never play defense. They'll never tackle anybody, right? Or never know how to tackle somebody. So this tackling circle, we also think is a little fun. Sometimes we put bags down, they run and jump on the bags. They get to hit somebody else. Our offensive guys get to hit the defensive guys the other way around. And we think it's kind of a fun part. But that's a 10-minute period that we take just to instruct them. And Coach Swift kind of talked about the liability of teaching people the right way to tackle. Well, now we're covered on that also. They know how to tackle. We've taken them through a drill every week, 10 minutes a week. They know what to do, so our whole team does that. Then we go kind of to the second part of practice. We go straight from that tackling circuit, the tackling drills, to the varsity and offensive, really to team period. We split it up like this. Our varsity offense will be up first. It's 1 versus 1s. It says varsity offense versus scout defense. All that means is our first defense is running the other team's defense. We're going 1s-on-1s in practice. I don't know about y'all, but a few years ago when I was at Jack Britt, we used to had a scout team. We had 1s, and our 1s were good, and our 2s were not very good, and our 1s got no better. They didn't get any better over the course of the season going against those scout team guys, so we just started going 1-on-1, 1s versus 1s, and that's what we do now to this day. Now, for those 10 plays that the varsity offense gets, our 1s, or whatever rotation our coaches are doing, are in there for the full 10 plays. So usually your 1s are up there for 10 plays. The scout defense, the 1s will at least take the first 4, 5, 6 plays. After that, they can start working some of the 2s in, but no JV player gets in there during that. No freshman football player gets in during that. It's either the starter on varsity or, our second string on the varsity guys, or it could be a really good JV player that we think is going to be a varsity guy in a couple weeks anyways. It could be him up there. But our point is to give the offense a great look. Talked earlier about making practices harder than the game. Well, if our guys are better than the guys are going against the game, we need to practice against them, make it harder in the game. The next we do, I think, is something that we do that really helps our sub-varsity teams out. So we do those 10 plays while our varsity guys are out there. Our offense, so all of our sub-varsity guys on offense are on one sideline. All of our sub-varsity guys on defense are on the other sideline. Again, we're fortunate enough to have 2 platoon at every level. So our JV is a 2 platoon. Our freshman team is a 2 platoon. We split them up. They got different color jerseys at practice, so it's easy to identify. If you're in white, you're on offense. You're on black, you're on defense. They go to separate sidelines. Now, one thing that does, I had learned the hard way at Jack Britt, we put our JV on the same sideline when the varsity was out there. Well, they just start goofing off. There's too many of them. There's 40, 50 kids over there. There's too many of them. They start goofing off. We want to engage student athletes. We want them watching practice. We want them seeing what the varsity's doing, so we try to thin the group out a little bit. So now we got 30 offensive guys on one side, 30 defensive guys on the other side instead of 60 or 50 or whatever numbers you got all on one sideline. So that's one little thing we did I think helps us out. Now I don't have to referee the sidelines. Coaches don't have to worry about the sidelines. They're worried about the guys on the field. It also, like I said earlier, shows our sub-varsity guys what it's like to practice. We'll make sure the varsity guys are demonstrating what our expectation is. Those younger guys get to see that because they don't know. They're new. They're young. They don't know, but they learn by doing that. So we go straight from that period of the varsity to now. We split the field up. I think this is kind of a neat way to do it. We do it just like you guys do in 7-on-7 during the summer, where you start on the plus 40-yard line. So our white team was our freshman team this year. Our black team was our JV team. The JV guys are on 140-yard line going in. The white guys, the ninth grade team, is on the other 40-yard line going in the other way. Our coaches are in the middle on the 50. Our coaches are coaching everybody. Both of them are getting simultaneous reps. They're getting plays at the same time. And now all their plays, talking about tempo, are full speed live. The varsity scout period, offense, those are thud reps. We're not tackling during that period. Those are thud reps. But the JV and ninth grade, those are full speed live. They are tackling and blocking as much as possible. They're only getting 6 plays. They're getting their 6 plays and they're getting off. Now, one thing that we found is the varsity guys like watching those young guys just as much as young guys like watching the varsity guys. They will start help these young guys out. They'll start yelling from the sideline and telling them, how to beat the opposition, and it gets pretty competitive. Again, that's part of the atmosphere we're trying to create, getting competitive and getting guys better. I won't bore you with it, but we do the exact same thing the next two periods. We just flip. Now varsity has the emphasis. The varsity defense has the emphasis. The offense is your scout. That period is a little slower. I don't like it as much because it's on cards. We don't necessarily run every play on offense that the opposition is going to run. If we do run a play, we're just going to get up and call it. We use our terminology and show the defense what they want to see, but it's a defensive emphasis period. Again, there's another water break. Then our young guys get out there one more time for 6 live plays. After that, we just had, pretty good segment of team plays. We're ones versus ones and best versus best. We go to special teams. This is a kind of a period where it's especially for our linemen who aren't on special teams very much, our line coaches get to steal some extra individual time. This is where they'll do one-on-ones. This is where they'll do run fits. They'll work on run game. They'll go over pass protection. This is where they steal time. Basically 20 minutes they get to steal of extra individual time. But how we do special teams is we'll go kickoff return for varsity. That means we need a JV kickoff team out there. So our varsity kickoff return is out there. Our JV kickoff will go out. It's a way to get both groups work. Without, we don't do this live at all. This is a mismatch, obviously, with our JV kickoff and varsity kickoff return. Those guys aren't that close to each other physically, so we don't do it live. We kind of do it. We do it full speed. We tell them to run fast, but we're not hitting, we're not tackling, we're not doing that stuff. But it actually gives our JV kickoff team an extra chance to line up, to going against what a kickoff return looks like. Then we'll flip it. Kickoff for our varsity will be up, and then our JV kickoff return will be up. Now this year with the 3 teams, our JV kickoff return and our 9th grade kickoff return both are ready to go. So we would just rotate them in and out every single kickoff we had to get those guys reps. So we worked it in that way. It was a way for us to be efficient, to steal reps for our sub-varsity guys when we're really not working them, but at least they're getting out there and getting reps. We're really working on the varsity special teams. The next period is crossover, and this was something we started this year with our 3 teams and our guys getting so much playing time with having just an extra game per week. We started this crossover period. Crossover was any guy that played a position on one side of the ball was also going to have a position on the other side of the ball. So we have primary starters on the offensive line, primary starters on the defensive line. They also had a secondary position. Now, this is much more prevalent on our 9th grade and JV teams. Those guys were forced to have 2 positions. Every linebacker had another position on offense. Every O-lineman had a position on defense. We made them have a crossover position. As you guys know, that it doesn't always work that way. O-lineman necessarily going to be a good D-lineman, but we still wanted them to learn some of it because when we got to this crossover period, they got to switch positions. All practice, they've been playing, they have a team period, and they've been playing their primary position. Now they get to this crossover period, and they're playing a different position. They love it. It's something else. DBs think they're the best wide receivers. Wide receivers think they can shut down any DB that's going to play wide receiver. So those guys got competitive. It was, again, something else that, threw a little carrot out there, tossed them a bone where they got excited about doing it. Really on the varsity level, what they used this period for was our key guys that were our emergency guys. This is where we got them reps on the other side of the ball. So our starting safety, our starting free safety was also our emergency quarterback. I already told you our JV quarterback was really the backup quarterback, but he wasn't dressing on Friday nights unless we knew the week before that our varsity quarterback wasn't going. So our emergency guy was our free safety. Now he has a 4.74 GPA, really smart kid, great player. Didn't take him long to learn the stuff we wanted to learn at quarterback. We still needed to get him reps on Monday during the week in case something happened that Friday. Our starting defensive tackle, our 3 technique, was probably our second or third best guard. He was a primary defensive guy. I won't go take him from defense unless we didn't need him very much that week on defense. So he got guard reps that period. Same thing with some of our O linemen. They were kind of the 5th, 6th, 7th best D linemen. They'd go over and get some D line reps on that place. So the crossover period was everybody got to play. Most people got to play different positions. So we got some extra work doing that. After that, then we split off. We're kind of done with practice at this point. We split up. We're done with the physical part of practice, split off into our units. Now, we kind of have moved this period around. Sometimes it's at the beginning, sometimes it's at the end. It kind of just is whatever we're doing at that time. It is a unit period. The defense has all their guys. The coordinators dictate what they do during this period. I'm giving them 10 minutes to cover whatever they need to cover, teach whatever they need to teach, work on whatever they need to work on. But our offense will take one side of the field. Defense will take the other side of the field. Oftentimes with our three teams, what we did this year is our defensive coordinator just wanted to be with the varsity guys. He'd take one or two assistants with him. The other sub-varsity players would go on our other field, and they would take the other position coaches, and they would go over stuff for them that they needed. So it was a way to split up. We kind of split our staff up, and the coordinators were in charge of that and did a great job. Same thing on the offensive side. They would run perfect plays or split the teams up and go over certain scenarios. After that, we always ran on Mondays. We conditioned. I know a lot of people don't condition. I feel like it's a rite of passage for football still. You got to condition. Now, what we did was our defensive coordinator's idea. Great idea. The conditioning was based on performance during practice. So instead of just going out and running, hey, we got 3 gassers, we're going to run down and back 3 times with no incentive, our defensive coach started this thing where he said at the start of practice, we got 3 gassers, right? So if we don't do anything right or wrong throughout practice, then we're going to still have 3 gassers at the end. Now, you got to subtract a gasser if you created a turnover. You got to subtract the gasser if you scored a touchdown. You got to subtract the gasser if you made some kind of phenomenal play. You did something that would be really beneficial for us, right? You got to subtract the gasser. I'll tell you what, those kids really paid attention to how many turnovers they created or how many times they scored. And they got really mad at me when I blew the whistle early and they couldn't try to rip the ball out of our running back's hand. So they made it competitive. Now, they added gassers. They jumped off sides. If there was a blatant holding penalty or they did something that the defensive coordinator didn't like, they would add gassers. So they started that. I didn't want half our team doing one thing, half doing the other. So we implemented that on offense also. The difference is offense starts at 0. They have no gassers to start practice. If they jump off sides, if they have a missed assignment, they're adding gassers. If they score a touchdown or make a really good play, then they can get a gasser subtracted. It's by the magic of practice and the magic of being a head coach, everybody always almost had the same amount of gassers at the end of practice. But there was some incentive tied to it where guys knew they were going to be held accountable for that stuff. So that's basically a Monday. And as you look at the bottom there, we're getting off the field. Our goal is to get off the field by 7:05, right there around 7 o'clock. Sometimes, especially during this kickoff and kickoff return period, those wouldn't last 20 minutes. We would get the work done we need to get done out of those, and it wouldn't be. So we end up, finishing ahead of time and being a little ahead of schedule, which is never a bad thing. Tuesday, I mentioned earlier, Monday and Tuesday, those are our work days. Those are days we're getting after it. And again, that has changed. Look, Mondays, when I first started coaching, we didn't do very much on Mondays. Didn't even really wear shoulder pads. I'm pretty sure it was just helmets. If we had shoulder pads on, we didn't have pants on. We didn't do very much. And I honestly felt like the kids, after doing that for, a year or two, I thought the kids were ready by Monday physically to be able to put the pads on and start going and being physical. And they've proved me right over the last 3 years of doing this. On Tuesday is another work day. Our last bell is at 3:15, 3:45, JV lift, RC meetings, 4:30 begin practice, and there's a big asterisk there at the end of Tuesday. I'm going to talk about that here in a second. If you look at the practice schedule, again, we got our afternoon snack, competitive advantage. Our guys don't eat really well. They don't eat a whole lot. They don't get a lot at home, so as much as we can feed them, we try to do that. 3:45, the JV's lifting. Now, that is all the sub-varsity guys that aren't in weightlifting. If they're not in weightlifting, so this is a little different than on Monday with the varsity, if the JV guys aren't in weightlifting, they go to the varsity meetings. They need to be in the varsity meetings, hearing what those coaches are talking about. We're talking about maybe 15, 20 kids, which helps us out because that way they're not in the weight room. The weight room isn't as crowded. Like I said, 60 is the max. We can get in the weight room. We're a lot more comfortable with 40 guys in there. The JV will go lift. The varsity will go to meetings or walk through. Tuesday is a day we get on the field earlier. We're scheduled to get on the field at 4:30 on Tuesdays, so we can start practice earlier because it's a little longer practice. And at the end, we end up finishing at the exact same time as on Monday. again, start with our 15-minute individual period. I think it's important to start with that every day. I want the position coaches to be the first ones they hear every day and really get their groups in order. On this day, on Tuesdays, we go to our unit install. So this is where we divide up. We finish practice on Monday with this. We'll kind of start practice on Tuesday with it. Offense will go one side of the field. Defense will go on the other side of the field. And like I said, our coordinators have full responsibility of that. I pretty much give the coordinators a template. They fill the template in how they want to fill in. Their individual period may not be all individual. It may be some work with the whole secondary or the whole back seven on coverage reads or something like that on defense. But those guys, are able to kind of manipulate the schedule how they want. After the unit the unit periods, when they split on the sides of the field, we go to stretch. Again, the ceremonial stretch. And again, right after stretch, we're getting right to it. It's sudden change. Full speed, live drill, whatever we did the day before. If we were backed up on offense the day before, now we're in plus territory. We're in the red zone. Now, this would change. Beginning of the season, we started a lot further out. We'd be on the plus 40, not the plus 20, so we have farther to go. Toward the end of the season, when I didn't really want them taking a whole lot of reps, I started working it down closer and closer to the end zone so that they would get done quicker. But again, our varsity goes, then our JV goes, then our ninth grade team goes. It's full speed, 100 miles an hour. Right after that, we do another team drill. Ball security drill for 10 minutes on Tuesdays. We take time out and do ball security. Now on Monday, our defensive coaches ran the defensive drills, right? The tackling circuit. There's 3 different stations. Well, on Tuesday, our offensive coaches are in charge of running the ball security drill. Quarterback coach will take one drill, and the running back coach will take one drill. Receiver coach will take one. All of our defensive coaches, since all the defense except O-line, D-line, they don't need no ball security. All of our defensive coaches go and help one of those groups, or whatever group they marry up with the most. They go and help that group on the ball security drill. O-line, D-line get to steal 10 more minutes. Those guys, a former lineman, I love having time for those guys to themselves. That's where they go steal some time. They may be working against each other. They may be getting some more individual work. That's really up to them, but they get 10 minutes. Right after that, we go crossover team. All right, so we started the Monday out with team periods and finished with crossover. And on Tuesday, we're going to start with crossover before we get into the team. It's only a 10-minute period on Tuesday. Again, this is where we get really the varsity guys. We start with them, the ones who are emergency players for Friday night. They get the reps on the other side of the ball. In this case, this year, our defense tackle came to guard. Our safety came to quarterback. We had one DB that went to receiver. 2 of our O-linemen went over to D-line. So it kind of all just mimicked and married in that way. But that was our crossover team period. Also, like I said, JV and ninth grade team would get reps during that also. Then we go to special teams. So after crossover, we go to special teams. Tuesdays, we'll do the punt game. Our punt return team on varsity will go against the JV punt. Our punt team on varsity go against the JV punt return. Again, these are really varsity periods. The look we're getting is based off the opponent for the next week. The JV guys are there to be there. They're getting a rep lining up in a position. It may not be the position we run, but they're going to get to go over that more on Wednesday before the game when they cover. This is really a varsity period, so we're squared away on special teams. After that, we start our team periods, and we go through the same format, the same process we did on Monday. Only difference is we do we do an extra set of team plays on Tuesday. It's a 30-minute longer practice. We do an extra set of team plays, but we divide the plays up a little bit more. We don't go sets of 10. We go a set or a rack of 8 plays. So our varsity defense will go first on Tuesday, scout offense, and then we get into the young guys who go out there for 5 plays and play full speed live. They're going against each other, JV against JV, freshman against freshman. Get back to our varsity guys. So our offense is got emphasis in our scout defense, and we just do that basically 3 times or twice really. And our JV guys, our sub-varsity guys, get 3 sets of plays for that. When that is over, when we get all those team plays done, I always like finishing with team before there was a conditioning or whatever you're going to do at the end of practice, just because I felt like we were going to be the most ready for team at the end. We've got that sudden change period to get everybody going quick, get everybody, geared to go and ready to play full speed initially, but then finish with team gives us a lot of time to coach, gives us a lot of time to make sure we got any corrections from earlier in practice. Now, what we started doing really beginning of this past year, we've done it a couple of times in the past. We just kind of made it a Tuesday deal. is our conditioning is disguised as more drills. So for our secondary guys, our back seven guys, we called it perimeter period. They were doing one-on-ones. We were running fade drills. We're running goes. We're running posts. We're running long routes at full speed. For one, so our quarterback and wide receivers could get work on it. And our DBs, that, that's the tough thing about playing DB. What if they go deep? You got to stay with them. So our DBs needed to work. And these guys are running full speed. They don't realize it. It's fun. They're trying to catch the ball or defend the ball. They're running full speed. So this is a conditioning it's a conditioning period. They don't know their conditioning. Now, O-line, D-line does some one-on-ones. A couple times during the year, they go on the sled. They go on and push the sled, simulate an 8-play series. One group go 8 plays, the next group go 8 plays. They're getting their conditioning in for we really call it position-specific conditioning. In the perimeter period, we want linebackers in drops. We want running backs running wheels. We want receivers, running 9 routes and whatever. We want them doing all that in disguise of actual conditioning. So we're still getting work in, still conditioning, but it is disguised as in normal drills or reps that we need, which, I think was a good deal for us. All right, so we got Tuesday. Tuesday was our longer day. As you notice, though, there at the bottom, I'm going to show you later, we still finished at the same time. So finished at the same time. We started a little bit earlier, so it disguised it, but the guys are leaving at the same time. They really don't know any difference. On Wednesday, our practice is a little different. It's a shorter practice. We're still in full pads. We go full pads Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in week 1 in the preseason or in week 14, whatever, 15, whatever we've got done this year. We're in full pads Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Like Coach Swift said, he's out there on the West Coast. He thought it was a mindset. We think it's a mindset too. Want our kids to be tough. We've got some naturally tough kids. Also got some kids that can get tougher by being with the naturally tough kids. So I just feel like mentally when we've had them take their pants and just go shorts and shoulder pads or just a helmet on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we didn't get as much out of them as we needed. They lost focus. They themselves thought it was less focused practice. So we just leave the pants on. They don't know any different now. They've been doing it for 3 years. So we leave them on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. It's full pads. On Wednesday, we start varsity lift again. We're going to get 2 lifts in during the week at 3:45. Again, it was 11 guys out of 44 guys. So 25% of the team was in there lifting. The other 75% were on Wednesday, sometimes they would meet with the coordinators. The coordinators would take them, start meeting early before the 11 guys got there. But our JV would steal time. They'd go outside. Our JV and 9th grade team would go outside and just really start practice about 30, 45 minutes before the varsity guys got it there. Got a lot of time to review stuff, got a lot of walkthrough time. We're going to start practice at 5 o'clock. Same thing. They're still getting a snack, doing the lift. Going to start practice at 5 o'clock, and we start the really Monday through Thursday of practice is the same way every day. They're with their position coach first. Position coach has them, whether it's a 10-minute period or 15-minute period, they've got them for those 10 minutes. Now, on Wednesday at this point, they may not be doing necessarily a lot of individual drills. They may be doing more unit drills. They're not getting together. They're not cross offense and defense aren't getting together during this time, but our O-line may be with our running backs and they're walking through the way or running through the way some of the runs are going to look that week, going against different formations, that sort of thing, different alignments. But that's a 10-minute period. They're still starting with their coaches, with the position coaches. Again, the ceremonial stretch, don't need a whole lot of stretch at 5 o'clock after they've been up all day since 8 o'clock at school, or some guys get up at 6, 6:30, whatever, get to school early. And then we go right to team. So the thing I like best about Thursday practices in college, which is comparable to Wednesday practice in high school, is we didn't do anything but go out there, warm up, and run team plays. I love running team plays as a lineman. All the drill work was tough. It was hard. The team play stuff, it was fun. Just running plays. So that's what we do is, kind of stole this from college. Coach Logan had this at ECU, had this format. I loved it. We just got to run a bunch of team plays, go over special teams, and then we're done. It's really what we do. So we start running team plays. We alternate days of who goes first. So Wednesday, offense is up first, offensive emphasis. We're still ones-on-ones, right? Our first group's still going against our first group. We go varsity, JV, varsity for those first kind of 3 periods of team based on emphasis. And then we get into our special teams. We make sure we cover every special team on Wednesday. Monday and Tuesday, we don't cover all special teams. We'll cover 2 on each day. So we'll do both punts on one day, both kickoffs on the other day, and we don't do field goal really until Wednesday. Now, some of our field goal gets time gets worked in on Monday and Tuesday when the O lineman and D lineman are not in the drill. So like when we're doing that kickoff period, O lineman, D lineman aren't on kickoff. They're not on kickoff. So they're not on kickoff return. They're not on any of those. So they can go start working PAT field goal during those times. So we'll steal some then. We'll go punt, return. Same thing. Varsity punt, going against JV punt return and vice versa. Then we get into more team periods. Offense against the varsity's up, and then the JV's up, and then the varsity's up again. And then we go back to special teams and kind of finish the meat of practice with the special teams with, varsity going against JV, whether it's kickoff return or kickoff or however it's formatted that day. We always finish Wednesdays with a 2-minute drill. I really can't say that this year we ever had a 2-minute drill in a game, but we practice it every Wednesday. We've had it before. A couple years ago, we had it in 2018. Had to convert it to a 2-minute drill. I guess we actually did have one this year convert on a 2-minute drill towards the end. Actually, one of the games we lost in the regular season, we lost on last-second field goal, but had a 2-minute drill to get down there. I forgot about that one. But our JV will stay up on the top field. Our varsity actually goes down to the bottom field, which is a little smaller, but it's the one that's got the uprights. So again, your resources, you got to do what you got to do to get by. But our varsity field will go down, our varsity team will go down and do a 2-minute drill. Now, look, this is a live drill. I think it was live we played 14 games, maybe 12 of the 14 games it was live. For 2 of the weeks, I kind of took it off, and it's going to be based on feel. But it was a live drill. I wanted the receivers and those guys not to say, oh, he wouldn't have tackled me or he would have tackled me. We're going to get tackled now. Quarterback is still not live. He still gets a whistle. If he starts running, I'll blow it dead, and we go to the next one. But it was a live drill. It was competitive. We kept score all season. How many the defense won, how many the offense won. Immediately after that, hopefully we could get a field goal worked into the 2-minute drill. And I'd give the guys a scenario. There's 1:30 left on the clock. As an offense, you've got one timeout, and you need a field goal to win. The ball's on the minus 40. So you need whatever our field goal kicker could kick at the time, we needed to get down to the 20-yard line. So that was your parameters. All right, that's what you had to get. That's what you had to work toward. Our JV stayed on the top field. Now they got all this time of work right here. They're getting prepared for their game. The JV and 9th grade team get prepared for their game on the next day on Thursday. So they're getting some extra time. What do they need to work on from practice? What do the coaches want to see from some of them so they know what to run in the game the next day? They're just stealing some time with those units and with those teams so they can be more successful. Because let's be honest, we want to win football games. We want to win football games at every team. We want the 9th grade guys to win on Thursday, the JV guys to win on Thursday, varsity guys to win on Friday. We want everybody to win. So we're going to make sure we're prepared enough to win that way. So we'd finish with PAT field goal on Wednesdays, like it says down there. We'd kick a bunch of field goals. We'd work on some fakes and do all that kind of stuff. But there'll be no conditioning on Wednesday. Again, that as an O-lineman in college, that's my favorite part about Thursday. No conditioning. You go run team plays, you go do special teams, and you're done. You're in. Now, the way we got this format, the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday format, or the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday format, let me kind of go to this one, skip ahead. Got this from Duke a few years ago. Coach from Duke was talking at a clinic, and he was saying that they kind of asked some of their statisticians and kinesiology and whatever they got at Duke, all those different departments. They started asking some of them what would be the most efficient and the best way for our guys to be physically ready for a game. Well, they said, if the first 2 days of the work week, first of all, you need a day or two to preferably 2 days after the game to kind of recover. And then kind of that third day and that fourth day, you can really put some work in. Well, the third and fourth day for us is the Monday and Tuesday. So third and fourth day, you put work in. That fifth day, you start scaling back because you're playing on the seventh day. So that fifth day, you're scaling back. So as you can see on the left on the screen here, on the field, from Monday, we're on the field for 2 hours. Tuesday, 2.5 hours. Wednesday is 1 hour and 45 minutes with no conditioning. On the right, you can see when you're off the field. 7 o'clock, we're off the field on Monday. 7 o'clock, we're off the field on Tuesday. Wednesday is a little earlier than that at 6:45. We're off the field with no conditioning, so we're starting to scale back. And really that's kind of what those guys at Duke said. Looking at that schedule, I forgot that I didn't mention this. So on Tuesday, the 7:15 steak dinner. That is a tradition that's been at Camden for a lot longer than I've been here. The second question I was asked when I got the job here, the first question was, Coach, are we going to get new jerseys? Second question is, Coach, do you like steak? Of course, my reply is, yes, of course I like steak. So they started nodding their head. I had no idea what they were talking about. Turns out there's been a tradition here that every away game, Once there's an away game, the next Tuesday they have a steak dinner after practice. Now, I didn't want to reward them for just playing a game. We wanted to reward them for winning a game. So now it is a Tuesday after a road win, we get a steak dinner. Again, it's a way that the guys love it. You know, it's a tradition. Their dads and their granddads and all the tradition we've got around here, they've all done it. So they know about it. It's also a good way for us to get a good meal at them. They get steak, they get a potato, they get to eat with their teammates. I don't let anybody get a to-go plate. They got to sit there and eat with everybody. Coaches and coaches' families come. They also eat with us. Usually we get people from the community to donate to it, so it doesn't get that expensive. But it's a really good perk. It's a great tradition, one that we've done. And again, it was the second question I got asked when I got here by the players, do you like steak? So we continue that steak dinner tradition. Now, on Tuesdays, we're here a little bit later because we're eating, you know, if it's an away game the week before when we won the game, we're eating steak a little bit later. It's not getting out here till 8. Thursday is a very light day. It's an hour practice. You know, we feel like we can get in and get out, and especially when it's August, when it's September, even sometimes when it's October here and it's hot, I don't want our guys out in the sun very long. We've got a JV and a ninth grade game to coach that night as coaches. I want our guys to get off their feet, to get out of the sun, so we don't want to be out there long. We usually start practice at 4 o'clock. The reason it takes so long to start practice is we got to get on a bus and go to our stadium. Our stadium isn't on campus. It's off campus. It's right down the road. It's a mile and a half from the school. Still got to get on a bus and get all the guys there, and then they put their cleats on when they get to the stadium. But we always practice in the stadium on Thursday, whether it's a home game or an away game. Turn the music on, just like at practice, and really go through our scenarios. Now it's a game field, so it's got more sidelines than the practice field. It gives them kind of a realistic look at what we do. The JV and freshman guys, they don't go anywhere. They stay here for their pregame meal. We keep them here at the school, so when the varsity leaves on the bus, the JV guys are going to the cafeteria and start eating their pregame meal. At the end of practice, when we're done with varsity, the coaches will come back, and then we'll split off and go to the JV or freshman games if they're at different locations. If it's both at home, we'll kind of split our staff, and some guys have freshman game responsibilities. Some guys have JV game responsibilities. We'll split up after that. Thursday practice is easy. I got this from when I was in Baltimore. Coach Billick, this was our Friday practice in Baltimore. Boy, we felt fresh during the game on Sunday, I tell you that, because he took care of us. Thursday is a take care of the player day, in my opinion. We call it a full-speed mental day. There should be no mental mistakes. There should be no substitution problems. There should be nothing going on a Thursday practice, so we have to stop and go back and reteach anything. So we start again with our position groups. I do a little pre-practice, individual period, a little pack and go. Now, again, there's no equipment at the stadium. There's no pads. There's no chutes. There's none of that stuff. So it's everything they can do without equipment. Then we get to our ceremonial stretch period. This is when I challenge the guys, look, we should be leaving here within an hour, right? If it's 4 o'clock right now and we're starting to stretch, or it's 4:05 or 4:03 or whatever it is, if it's 4:03 right now, we should be getting off the field by 5:03. If we're here longer than an hour, then it's your fault. We've had to go back through too much. It also makes them be fast between transitions. You guys know when you've got the offense, you know, the team's on the field and you're trying to transition, put the defense on the field to go against scout. It takes a little time. Well, by telling them we got to get out of here quick, we need to be fast, it's a mental day, felt like that helps them to get out there and speed practice up. We want to get off the field as coaches too. You know, we're trying to get back, get some pizza before we get to the JV and the freshman games. So our offense will start. They'll have 10 plays. Now, this is the only day where our ones don't go against our ones. Our ones go against our whoever else. Our first offense will go against whoever we have on the defensive side of the ball that's not a starter. I tell our coaches, a starter should not take any scout team reps on Thursday. I want them rested. I want them sitting over on the side. Guys, there were some Thursdays where we cut the plays down. Instead of doing 10 plays in a row, we cut it down to 8 because it was so hot. And I didn't want those guys losing all those fluids going into Friday that we cut the plays down because the weather demanded it. So we'll go 10 in a row on October day, go 10 in a row with a scout team that's just reading cards. They don't have to play the position. Our kicker and punter, long snapper, those guys will go out there and play on defense too. Our younger guys would definitely be on there who weren't starters. But we try to get done as quick as we could. Offense would go 10. We switch around, go the other end of the field. Defense would go 10 against scout. We do that twice. Then we do something that I really like Coach Billick did in Baltimore. We go on script. We call it a script. It's a game scenario. This is a substitution. This is a unit interaction drill. So I'll start. We won the toss. We want the ball. Kickoff return is up. Kickoff returner go out. There's no scout team out there. Kickoff returner go out. Our kicker will kick it to them. After kickoff return, what unit's supposed to be out there? Our offense runs out. Offense does a few plays. I'll make it up where they've got to punt the ball. Now our punt team comes out. When our punt team goes out, who's the next? Well, our defense better know they go out. So we kind of go through a whole game of once the punt return team is out, who's the next team out? Once the kickoff team is out, who's our next team out? We'll finish with some field goals and kind of put some pressure on the kicker, get the team around him, start yelling at him, and see if he can miss some. We want him to make them, obviously, but we're trying to put pressure on him. We'll also go over onside, hands, victory formation, Hail Mary. Got to go through some scenarios at the very end of practice on that one. Our goal on Thursday is to get them in and out. We're in our Thursday gear. We're in helmets only. Our Thursday gear is our 7-on-7 gear in the summer. Tight top and shorts. They got no jersey on. They don't even have the football pants on. It's shorts. It's a tight top. O-linemen, that's the only time in the year they get to wear those tight tops because I don't give them to them during the summer because they'll rip them. But all the guys, so we look the same. We match. They feel good. They feel fast. You know, them guys like wearing tight stuff that's small anyway, so they like the way they look on Thursdays. But our goal on Thursday is to get off the field quick with the varsity. So we're off the field at 5:05, whatever time ends up being. We get over back to the school, and now we're leaving as coaches. Guys are going home. A lot of them, will, especially online, start going to buffet together at the end of practice and going to CC's or wherever and eating together, which we love. But the coaches are getting to the JV games. Now, if the game's at home, we want our varsity guys going to the game, and they'll usually come to it. If it's on the road, I almost tell them not to go to the game unless their mom or dad's driving them to the game so they have a ride back. We don't want them staying out late on Thursday night. But that's basically the gist of what Thursday is. Here's, as you look, as the weekly schedule, again, from the macro view from over top, what it looks like for us on the field. And then when we get off the field, I think it's important to have, time parameters. Tuesday, a 2-hour practice is a good practice. You can get a lot of stuff done in 2 hours. We actually have time parameters on us in South Carolina. It may be a national rule, NFHS rule. Can't go more than 3 hours in a practice. And if you go 3 hours, you got to wait another hour before you can do anything. We want to make sure that our lift on Tuesday combined with our practice on Tuesday fits within the time parameter. That's our longest practice day. That's our 2.5-hour day. But we feel like if we practice hard on Tuesday or long on Tuesday, we still got Wednesday and Thursday and Friday to recover for the game that night. So we feel like we're, in a good situation. Monday, 2 hours, Tuesday, 2.5 hours, Wednesday, shorter, hour and 45, and Thursday, we're out there for 1 hour. We get off the field before 7 o'clock or at 7 o'clock every day. And again, part of that's for our coaches. We meet after practice quickly, briefly, usually not a whole lot we got to talk about after practice. Sometimes there is. So we try to keep that as quick as possible. As coaches, we're home by 7:30 on those Monday and Tuesdays because we want to eat with our family. We don't want to be up at the school all day. We put in a 12-hour day, and we don't want any more of it. We're not into grinding. We're into trying to be efficient. Now, being efficient doesn't mean you don't work less. It doesn't mean you don't go as hard. We still go hard. We just try to do it in the best way possible. 5 o'clock on Thursday, like you see on there. Now, Friday is probably everybody's got their own Friday routine. Our guys during the school day who are weightlifting, we usually do a yoga class on Friday. Done pretty well with that over the last couple of years, so keeping the guys healthy for Friday night. One thing we do pretty neat, I think, is and I got this from Harnett Central, my very first coaching job. Our coach there, Patrick Turner, who's in Florida now, did a great job of getting a church to sponsor the pregame meal. Now, by doing that, the church is feeding the kids, and we give that preacher a platform to talk to the kids. Now, churches around town here all volunteered. We went to a different church each week. One thing I like doing on Fridays is to get our kids off campus for a little bit, then get back on campus. Now, I don't let them out of our sight. Everything is on the bus. They can't drive themselves to the church. They're not going by themselves anywhere. They're on the bus. They're all supervised. We've got our thumb on them the entire time after the school day. I know some coaches let their kids go get something to eat after school and then just meet me back at 5 o'clock. We don't do that. I want our guys, I want to see them the entire time before the game on Friday night. But we bust to a pregame meal. We go to a church. Somebody Some church has offered to sponsor us for that week. It's really neat to get around town. We go to all of our different kind of areas of town, East Camden, Knights Hill, downtown Camden. We got kind of all these different areas we get to go, and some of the kids go to church at those churches. Some of the kids know people that go to church at those churches. So it's a neat way to get out in the community, get them away from the school so everybody at school can leave. All the cars can leave. I don't have to, fight our kids trying to go and hang out with whoever it is. We get back usually by 4:30. If we get back at 4:30, we'll start our unit position walkthroughs like everybody else does, have our special teams walk through, give the kids time to get treatment, get ready for the game, and then we'll leave at 6 o'clock. So Friday should be our peak day. That's our peak performance day. Mentally, physically, the most prepared that we are. We feel good, ready to play on Friday night. Now, I love routines. I love, doing kind of the same thing over and over, especially if it works. And I guess a way to measure success is kind of use these categories. One way we as head coaches try to measure success in a football program is how many kids we got in the program. Now, all these aren't guys that are just there to, all these guys are not players, right? I remember talking to Coach Metzger up at Pinecrest near Jack Britt one time. He had 160 kids in the program. He goes, we don't have 160 like good players. We got 160 kids in the program. Some of them need something to do. Some of them need to be around. Those guys may be your best fundraisers. They may turn out to be your local congressman later or in city council. Who knows? But it's good to have them around, especially if they can make it through what you ask and they're doing what you ask. In the bigger picture, we're going to make better husbands and fathers and citizens and those sorts of things. But from our roster standpoint, 2017, we had 82 players. 2018, we got a few more, had 89 players. In this past year, with the help of a bigger freshman class, we had more kids in our freshman class. We had 102 players in the program. We're very proud of that. At the bottom, you can see we've only got 1,000 kids at the school. First year in 2017, we had 982 kids. This past year, we had 1,016 kids. So our kids, we have 32 more kids from 2017, but we've got 20 more players. I think that's a testament to our coaches. Them recruiting the hallways is a testament to our players recruiting their friends to come out and play. But also I feel like the way we're doing things encourages them to come out. They have a lot of fun no matter what we're doing, off-season, summer, in-season, that sort of thing. Also, you want to look at injuries. Coach Swift was talking a minute ago about how physical his practices were out there in Oregon and California. Our practices are physical. We get after a pretty good bit. We're in full pads Monday through Wednesday. I think you got to look at injuries. Now, we had more kids than this hurt during those years, but this injury is more this count is more guys who started the year and then finished the year, how many were due to being injured, or how many weren't starters at the end of the year but were starters at the beginning of the year, and it was because of an injury. We had 2 last year, and we only had 1 the previous 2 years. Now, some guys started the year, didn't finish the year. They got beat out, or whatever the case may be. But we don't have a lot of injuries. We don't have a lot – I'm knock on wood – but we don't have a lot of season-ending injuries. This year, our starting corner and our starting middle linebacker got hurt in the starting linebacker in the 2nd game of the year, then our corner in the 6th and the 7th game of the year. They got hurt. We're out for the year. Obviously, those are big losses for us, but the way we had prepared everybody else, we had guys that filled in pretty well. We had guys that filled in for those guys and kept us going, especially on defense. You look at the win column, again, our goal as coaches from the MAC reviews to win football games. In 2017, we won 3. We got better in 2018, won 5 more to make it 8. This past year had a really good year, really good team. Obviously, guys, you guys know this as well as I do. You're a lot better coach when you got good players. We had good players this past year, won 12 games. We're fortunate enough to have a lot of them coming back. But at the bottom there where it says 1,000 students and 3 teams, that is one thing we are proud of. We are a 3A school here in South Carolina. There's 5A, goes up to 5A. Many of the teams we play in our freshman games or our JV games have twice the students we've got. They've got 2,000 students at the school. They've got a freshman team, a JV team, a varsity team. We've only got 1,000 students. We got the same thing. So we're really proud of that, being able to have those 3 teams again. I got a lot of feedback after we started the freshman team this year. We were able to have the numbers for the freshman team this year, especially from parents. The kids love it, and they're bought in. They're not going anywhere. They got their friends to come out. We've got more numbers going into this next year. But their parents really appreciated the fact that they got playing time. They recognized, if there was one JV team, those ninth graders weren't going to get much playing time because we had a pretty good sophomore class. But by being on a ninth grade team, they got to play the whole game. It was fun. They got to play. They got to get better as a program standpoint. They're playing and getting better. Then that's good for you as a program, because by the time they're a junior or senior, when they've grown, when they've been in the weight room for 2 years, when they realize what your expectations are and they've got tougher, they're going to make you a better program. But that's one thing we're pretty proud of, is being a 3A school and having the freshman team, because we didn't play any other 3A schools that had a freshman team this year. They're all 4A or 5A schools, and I think our kids liked the competition. They knew they were playing bigger schools that we would never play in the playoffs, but they liked the competition of it. So, again, how do you measure success on what we do? I don't know. I think I like what we do. Obviously, I'm the head coach. I kind of make other coaches do that, but we've got buy-in from all the coaches, and they've done a great job of manipulating what they can on the schedules to make it the best we can make it. It's pretty much all my presentation, guys. It's, again, not what may not been that exciting. I'm an O-line guy. I'm not that exciting. I like talking zone and gap scheme and stuff like that. It's not exciting. They're good football plays. But our weekly routines and what we do in the season, we really feel like it's a competitive advantage for us. Hopefully I give you guys some maybe some points or some things you could take back to your school. Again, it depends on manpower. It depends on resources. How you got to set up. If you're not a head coach, what your head coach will allow you to do. I do take suggestions from our assistant coaches. We've said a couple times to them that suggestions are different than decisions. Don't get offended if we don't take your suggestion and do it and implement it. It may not just work with what we're doing. Maybe a good suggestion, and it'll work at some other time, but it's just not good for us now. So if your head coach will allow you to make suggestions and to try to formulate some of those things, then speak up. Tell them what you think can make it better. Because in the end, we want to win football games, but we want to make better players and better citizens. And the more people you got in the team doing the right thing, I think the better off you'll be as a program. But here's my information. Like I said, when it came to South Carolina, there's my email right there. Probably the biggest thing for me personally that has happened over this quarantine is I have gotten on Twitter. I've been fighting it for years. Coach G, he's been the Twitter guy. Coach Fryer, some of those guys I worked with in Fayetteville, and Jack Britt. I've always been Twitter guy, so I made sure they kept up with it. I wanted to know what was going on. I never made my own Twitter. Here we go. He gets me on an online clinic. I got to make a Twitter because it's done through Twitter, and I got a Twitter. There it is, @Brian_Rimpf. Not very flashy. Again, I'm not a flashy guy, but there's Twitter. So I think I've made 10 posts so far, 10 tweets, whatever you call them. It'll be neat, I'm sure. I may get annoyed with it, but I'm on it. The quarantine has forced me on Twitter, and I'll leave it at that. But, Coach G, I appreciate you having me. If there's any questions, I can answer those. If not, then, again, I appreciate you having me. I'll talk for a long time.
Absolutely. Now, we got a couple questions here. The tackling circuit, do you rotate each coach during that time?
So we don't rotate coaches. We rotate players. Like our DB coach, our DB coaches will have a station with the wide receiver coach. They will stay at that station. It also gives those guys a way. They never see linemen. When does a DB and a receiver coach ever see a lineman or get around a lineman? Now during the tackling circuit, they get around linemen. So we rotate the stations of players. The coaches stay at their station. That way the coach really knows what he's trying to get across at that specific station. They're 3-minute rotations. I mean, it's a 10-minute period. Our DC runs it. It's on his whistle. After they get done with 3 minutes, they go. And this is everybody going against everybody. Now, one thing we try not to do, and we do it the best we can, is we try not to have a freshman going against a senior. Right, we try to divide the lines up so that our younger guys aren't going against our older. Even though it's not full speed, it's not 100% contact. There's little risk of injury. We still don't want our freshman guy who is 150 pounds going against our senior who may be 210 and totally physically matured. We try to keep them separate. So that's one little thing they do within each station as they do it. But no, our players are divided into 3 groups. There's 3 stations of coaches. Our players go from one station to the next.
Good deal. We got to get set up for the next one, but I do want to get to this one more question. But if I didn't get to yours, just reach out to Coach on Twitter, man. He'll definitely be able to help you out there. But do you have coaches meetings after practices?
Yeah, it's a brief meeting. I tell them 15 minutes is all we're going to be there. Now, some days it's been a little longer than that. We had bad practice, something went on, something happened. But we always meet at the end. Now, I shouldn't say we always meet. it's in the schedule to always meet after practice. There'll be days where, guys, we don't have to talk about anything. Y'all go home. Get everything cleaned up. Now, we all have responsibilities, like Coach Swift was talking about. Everybody's got a duty at the end of practice. We've got 3 locker rooms. We've got each of our teams in a locker room. One coach is assigned to each of the locker rooms just so they can be in there and make sure the cleanup's in order, make sure nobody's taking anything on the field from practice into the locker room as far as, fighting somebody or something like that. So we have monitors in those. We got some coaches that are breaking down the camera for after practice, some coaches that are handling discipline after practice, some coaches that are getting the pads and stuff. So we've all got our stations after practice. So there'll be a lot of days, especially when things are going well and we don't need to talk about a whole lot. Well, I'll just say, let's go home. But it is reserved. Everybody knows we have it in the schedule to meet. We just may not meet after practice. Again, we don't want to grind. We want to go home, right? We want to get it done. We want to go home. We'll be as efficient as possible.
Absolutely. Guys, like I said, if I didn't get to your question, just reach out to Coach on Twitter or shoot him an email, man. He'll get back to you.
I'm going to have to figure that out, how to get reached out to on Twitter. I got to figure that out. I need to take the Coach G class on Twitter and Zoom. I need to take that.
I'm going to have to walk you through it. Nah, Coach, I appreciate you jumping on, man, and giving a great presentation. And just like the rest of them guys, they'll be available on the drive. But thank you so much for giving us some of your time.
Hey, Coach D, put your Venmo information up so we can all send you a few bucks. You've been doing all this. I don't know if you put it on your Twitter yet. Put that Venmo on there. Hey, Fayetteville has every restaurant known to man. Send them a gift certificate to a restaurant, something like that. We really appreciate you, Coach.
I do this for the community, man. I do this for all of us collectively, man. So this has been a lot of fun, and for stuff like this, opportunities to learn something new, be able to bring back to our schools and implement it if we see fit, and continue to learn from great coaches around the country. So I do thank you for that, Coach.
Yes, sir. Good to see you, man.
All right, y'all.
Take care.
We'll be back in.